So if we could have about 15 or 20 minutes of questions, that would be great. So do pick up anyone.
Can I ask Lorna, first of all, you work in a very, very archaic profession.
Yeah.
Do you find going into social networking, trying to beat on doors that are stuffy, dusty offices, which haven't changed for, have we got a computer? In some respects. How do you find that now, going into that and saying, look, forget 19th century or 20th century practices, this is 21st, jump and you get more business?
Yeah, it is hard. They don't, like you say, I mean, when I said the Royal Institute of British Architects has been going for 175 years, so to waltz in and say, yeah, you should start using social media, they need that to be backed up by something. So to be able to show them practical examples of when I've used social media in a positive way as a useful marketing tool, suddenly they do sit up and listen. There's still a few old boys out there, so it's a male-dominated industry, so I can get away with saying that, but a lot of them are very hard work. But I have, what I'm trying to do is build up as much of a relationship as I can with the industry, with the Royal Institute, and I'm working alongside the local office, and they've started to introduce using social media. I'm hoping to run a training session with them so that I can start to show some practical examples of actually putting these tools into practice. So it's hard, but to actually use some practical examples seems to be the way to get people to listen. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Sort of.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is that it's come through, I think with all three of you, that, okay, networking and networks, real, virtual, all really key to all three of you. But the other two elements was, on the one hand, this sense of just get on with it, just do it, just have a go. And a kind of dive in. And on the other hand, I think all three of you have said, learn to say no. You know, and I'm just wondering what's the balance between the two and how difficult you find that. And some of that is to do also with time management, but some of it's also to do with, you know, with saying no to ideas or how to develop a sense of how you can make those kinds of judgments, I suppose, and prioritise.
I think for me, instinct is key, like you were saying as well. Instinct, you know, if there's something, you know, you can't even explain what really instinct is, but I know that if I've got a gut feeling and I don't feel right about an opportunity or something that someone's asking of me, even though I might not say no immediately, I might say let me think about it, and I might even try and do a little bit of intelligence about who's asking me that question, to try and see if I feel any happier before saying yes or no. But that example with you know, Be a Beauty and people wanting to join me doing other stuff because they're not, you know, they weren't sticking to the principles of Be a Beauty. No, because I want to protect that. Also for me, time management. I don't, you know, if it's gonna be way too much time for me to do this, time that I really haven't got, I can't do it. I have to say no. And also, you know, I'm thinking financially as well. I've got to think financially. Yeah. There's so many great ideas out there. I could do that. So what's bringing me an income? Yeah. You know.
Yeah. So the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the market's changing so rapidly at the moment as well that an idea that I would have had 2 years ago simply doesn't apply anymore because the industry's changed, the economic situation's changed, and it may not be appropriate. So it's time to just shift focus a little bit and think, well, respond to that changing market and do what's going to be the most financially sensible thing to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of it's like taking a lot of risks, isn't it? You just have to go for it, like you were saying. But and reputation's huge, isn't it? And with social media and everything. So I was thinking of Be a Beauty. You know, that reputation, it could have been. It could be quite effective, couldn't it? From all the work you've done previously as well. It's quite a big thing. Do you think it's quite important then to collaborate, to really be, like you joined in a group, didn't you? Or you know, was it about teaming up a little bit more to be able to get that voice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than just going solo all the time.
Yeah, the whole you know, the decision to do the event was a collaboration of people, and it was about not only kind of highlighting what I yabber about beer, but helping people learn, you know, assisting enlightenment, and that's why I brought brewers in to talk about their processes and what they do and how they want to move forward, and listen to the women that I gathered in the room, you know, almost market research for them about their beers, and I like this taste and I don't like this. So there was mutual stuff going on in the room for everybody. You know, the women there were getting the experience of meeting new people, making new friends and networking and having the opportunity to talk about their businesses. The sponsors were there to learn from my guests and impart information to the guests. Everyone was there to have a great time, give people a good feeling as well.
Well, I find that interesting that both of you went into things that you didn't have an academic background for, and you were very successful in them, or you went into academics afterwards. But did you receive any skepticism because you did not have an academic background, or and if you did, how did you overcome it? Because I myself would like to go into industries that I don't have the academics for. I have other things, but not the specific ones. And it's always a struggle to get into a new industry or a new when everyone else, like a lot of people around you, do have the academics for it, but you feel that you can be good at it. How do you kind of tackle?
Yeah, I think there's a knowledge
barriers
thing
that kind of set up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been affected by that, but I've got 11, nearly 12 years of working in the industry, so I know it very well. So for someone to come in and sort of start spouting off about social media, if they don't come from an architectural background, I'm not sure that they would necessarily be listened to. So I suppose what I've had to do is just take advantage of that and just use my networks and use the people that I've built up a friendship with really over the years. So I can't imagine what that would be like, having to come in and sort of be met with barriers. So.
I mean, I personally got my first degree just in business studies, so no real focus on anything. It was very different in business studies when I did it. And that was kind of graduated in '93, and then I was working in the media, kind of, you know, weekends and all that sort of stuff. And I knew I wanted to turn professional. I wanted to do it on a professional level. And that to be a journalist, you had to have this qualification or similar, you know. So the PG dip was the only way for me to get that knowledge, the real detailed knowledge, to be able to be the professional. And the barrier was that I'd identified the course but couldn't pay for it, so I had to find means of how do I pay for it, apply for a bursary. So I think it depends on how much you want that knowledge, how far you want to go in that chosen profession, and if it is a course of study, then think about how you're going to do it to achieve that course of study. I guess what I did was really research, you know, look into what you needed to be a journalist. Did you absolutely need this? And when I knew, yeah, you absolutely need this, for what I want to do as a broadcaster, I had to do that course of study.
As a beer writer, I find what you're doing with beer and women absolutely fascinating.
Thank you. I love it
still
so
can't
much.
come to a party.
But I might consider an enlightenment for men. You never know. Further down the line.
I mean, I go to enough breweries in this country. Every one of them.
Oh, great. Well, we'll have to talk.
But what you're doing with women and beer, I think, is absolutely wonderful, because it's something that, to me, is bringing a new dimension into pub culture.
Yeah.
Lorna, how did you, what is your knowledge of social media when you decided to become a social media advisor?
It was by accident, really. Yeah, I was approached by the CEO of MAID at B2 Camp, which was the photo that you saw there. And she'd been along to a course that was run by Helga Henry and Pete Ashton and John Barnes, a lot of sort of very prominent figures in the social media circles in Birmingham. So she realised that there was something there, and I just happened to be somebody that was quite interested in it, and helping to share my knowledge through events. And she was at that event and approached me afterwards and said, "This is really interesting, we should talk." I then applied for their marketing and communications officer job and didn't get it. but I now work alongside their marketing and communications officer, and we teach each other things. So she knew somebody with a marketing background, she knew very little, nothing really about social media. So she and I are exchanging knowledge. She's now on Facebook, which is, it's a start.
You're looking for freelance work for doing innovative things. I'm not mentioning, for example, for working some hours as a broadcaster, but when doing these more innovative things, do you think that it is more important to go and look for the clients directly and to reach out to them, like selling them directly, or letting people find you and letting your work be seen by a lot of people, and then maybe if they are looking for someone to do that, they will approach you? What do you think?
I think it's about bringing yourself to someone's attention. I don't know whether that's because I've always done that from when I was looking for work experience when I was a kid. The problem with a lot of broadcasting work experience these days is that there are it's all online and you have to apply as if it's for a job, whereas I wrote a letter in my own dodgy handwriting with a pen, put a stamp on and put it level, and then waited for weeks for the reply. It's that, in that sense, the whole realm of work experience has changed and has been locked down quite a bit. But I still, personally, I think it's still about proactivity. I didn't get that BBC Inside Out commission without researching it and then phoning the series producer and going, got an idea for you, I'll send you an email, and him going, great, come in, you're commissioned. He wouldn't have found me. But it's different for all industries, I imagine.
What's interesting with your the beer ideas, you started with pitching a programme to the BBC, and then you've turned it into something that you've developed kind of as an online activity, and then you've developed these events out of it, and that's quite interesting, is to not think of ourselves as it being in one industry, to think of being more fluid. Like I said at the beginning, all of you've been involved in events in some ways. You're all either project manager sometimes, and at other times becoming a marketing expert. So titles of that nature are a little old-fashioned, aren't they? And you can get a lot of mileage out of one idea as well, and take it a lot further.
Marverine question: when you set up Fun for Media, did you register the name or register it as a business, or are you operating as yourself, just under that banner?
Yeah, we decided to set up a real company, proper company, company's house and everything, because Austin, my business partner, who just happens to be my fiance as well now, he was freelance and I was freelance, and I sort of said, let's do companies, and let's do it properly. So company's house, VAT registered, pay VAT, contracts for all clients, terms and conditions, invoices and all that malarkey, accountants. It's a headache. But we consciously decided we wanted to do it properly. We're insured to the hilt for all the jobs we do and all that sort of stuff. Just because for what we do, I personally think it's really important to be seen as a formal company in this way. For example, with insurances, if we want to film in Birmingham City Centre, you've got to phone the council. The council won't let you film in certain areas unless you can show your insurance certificates and sign all this stuff, and that might hinder us from finishing a project for a client. So we just decided to do it the right way. Yeah.
How expensive is it to register a company?
I think we kind of did the papers, something like 20-30 quid at Company's House. What we did do though, we did make the initial phone call to Business Link, and through Business Link, they link you to the Law Society, so you can find a solicitor in your area, and you can get an hour's free consultation to talk to them about what you do, and they can discuss the options of the type of company you want to set up, whether it's limited or LLP or anything else that's out there. So you can get an hour's free consultation, and then decide from there. That solicitor can file your papers for you, but they'll charge. Or you can actually just go straight to Company's House and do it yourself. I think you can do it online.
Yeah, I had to speak to an accountant when I went freelance. So although I'm directly employed by one person, I'm sole trader for everything else. So I'm not registered as a company, because that was the most sort of simplistic way of doing things.
Necessary if you're just
not for me.
Yeah. On that very practical note, can I thank you both very much for coming in and speaking to us today.